Skype ape at the north gate. When we knock, you better bump straight. Get him in, y'all. We don't want to miss this.
My red loan is a 100%.
It's about to be lit. It's about to be live. Young, raw. Let's go, baby.
And the ancestors are looking out for us. Todd Hayes is exposing them, man.
Okay, you see that chair right there? See how big it is?
Yeah.
Now look at the Pope chair under it. Scroll down, look at the Pope chair under
Never have it been made so clear.
Young TV. Young.
We running the game right now.
Young TV.
Time to take over.
Young
We the hottest in the game. Hit that like, hit that subscribe button. If you just not tuned in.
TV.
Share, like on your Instagram, Facebook.
Young TV.
If you tuned in, we broadcasting live from 2030, baby.
Young TV. Young
Taking over the game, baby. Oh yeah.
Young TV.
Hit that like.
Young TV.
Get them likes up in the air, you heard me?
Young TV.
Ride by. Hotel Islam.
Young TV.
Assalamu alaikum. Flown lesson. Peace.
Young
Be unto you.
TV.
Hit that like.
Everybody hit that like, hit that subscribe button, man. We back for another banger with Chief Pontiac, live from the belly of the beast, right? And we got the
from the North Gate.
yeah, hey, we'll Skype ape at the north gate. You know what I'm saying? Kong is coming. Close the north gate. See, people don't know what that is. But I say close the north gate, right? They ain't overstanding that. Kong is coming. These killer clowns, they scared. They scared, man. And we've been having a lot of comments or a lot of hashtags on let the four chiefs walk. Right. So we say, oh yeah, we gotta do one on let the four chiefs walk, man, because people ain't understanding about because the outlaw chiefs and the chiefs that got the paperwork, because Baba had paperwork proving that he's chief on the land, and they still didn't recognize him, right? Because people saying you got to get some paperwork from the free white man to say you order you for you to be the chief. You got to have a tax ID number. You got to have you got to go over here to to these white boys over in England and get them to approve of you being the chief on your own land. So the first question that we have, the first question we have for you, because like I say, Dr. Malachi Z. York, free Dr. Malachi Z. York, we're doing the tapes series now on his proving that he innocent, and we laying the whole layout out on how he got set up or whatever. But he got paperwork from these people. 1999, they got approved. 1993, and got the register as Native Americans on the land. We got more to go in on it on these tapes that are coming out tomorrow, but they ain't recognize Pops, and he had the paperwork. And then they say, oh yeah, well Larry Hoover can't be a chief because he didn't go to the free white man, or Big Meech can't be a chief because he didn't get paperwork from the free white man, or Jeff Ford can't be a chief because he didn't go to the free white man. And keep in mind, 3 of these people are in the same prison right now today. Jeff Ford, Larry Hoover, and Dr. Malachi Z. York, they all in the same prison ran by the killer clowns. But I guess my first question we have for you, Rod, so what do we say to people that say, you're not a chief, Rod, you a self-proclaimed chief and you don't got paperwork from the free white man? How does that work? Go ahead.
Chiefs are not made chiefs by paperwork. Chiefs made chiefs by blood, right to rule, and competency of position. It don't matter. They can come with all the papers in the world. It's you versus a paper chain. As soon as you require the established system we fighting to validate you, then you have to first reduce yourself to their jurisdictional supremacy, which undermines your sovereign right. You got a lot of these old chiefs that been doing business so long with the corporation, they don't even realize the corporation is defunct. They don't know that the government gone. They still think senators, congressmen, and voting has anything to do with getting something done on the land. It don't have nothing to do with nothing no more. The whole fucking the whole voting situation is a stage show. They showed you that with this farce of a debate, right? You going to slave master saying, "Master, can you recognize me as a righteous plantation Negro?" We don't need their permission. This is where the first problem comes. That's why I had to point out, and Big Meech is a perfect example of what I'm saying. Big Meech used whatever means he did to get his money, righteous or unrighteous, to do a righteous work. His righteous work was teaching these young brothers how to live with opulent wealth. There's no other chief on the land teaching our children. How are they going to learn how to keep the wealth in the community? How to circulate the wealth among themselves? If one of these teachers don't rise up from among them and teach them, we going to continue to be victims to this system, victims to this enemy. And I don't feel like being nobody victim, right? So nobody else is fulfilling the tribal function of retraining them boys to live with opulent wealth and to learn how to treat women when you got money, to learn how to not value material possessions over the righteousness of the heart. He was literally teaching it in person to people that can testify to this. To the clan, not to the government. The government is gone. It's the clans now. Our awareness of our ability to reclaim our right is the critical determining factor on which direction the machine go from here. When you have elders who don't remember the tribal culture, but they carry in the titles of chief, then they have to move out the way and let the younger ones who understand how to investigate, research, and find out the nature of the fraud so they can see the overthrow in the process. We not asking nobody for no favors. We only doing what we was born to do by birthright, by the blood and the right of the people of the land. We are obligated as the ones who rise up in knowledge to return it back to the tribes. And all of those people that you mentioned, Angel Bay, Jeff Ford, Larry Hoover, has been given back to the clans on the land, but they've been undermined by the enemy telling you they criminals, and all the time the enemy is creating the crime. So this is why the government, this is how we end up losing so much. The government was declaring people chiefs that was first generation born over here in order to sign treaties. You don't see no tribal names on none of them treaties. Even the ones from the 5 civilized tribes, you don't see tribal names on them treaties. The English rendition of tribal names, when they translate them, is Chief Little River Running, Chief Black Crane, right? These is tribal names, but then they gave these people with these foreign names the right to sign treaties against the collective will of the clans. As long as we don't know who he is, we don't deserve nothing. They showing it to us right now. They playing with our food that's on our plate, on our table, in front of our face, and they laughing at us while they doing it, and we slapping each other in the process. We ain't dealing with the people that's playing in our food. We dealing with each other harshly, with malicious intent. Right now, the elders is the ones in the way. because they believe that the American system is the way to go, and it's absolutely not. The only remedy is the tribal oral tradition and the restoration according to the tribal doctrinal oral tradition and the passing on of the oral law, the great law, and the restoring and the return of the matriarchy. There is no other way out of this. There's only one way. I'm just showing y'all the directions. Y'all don't have to believe me. Nobody don't got to believe nothing I'm saying. But at the end of the day, they going to realize, oh, I should have listened. It's too late. You had your opportunity. When people reach out to these other people, we ain't reaching out to you to give you hell or to bring you problems. We bringing you a solution to all of the collective problems of the clans. But they think that we bringing problems to them because we don't follow the system. We follow the tribal tradition. It's a difference. Chiefs are not made. Chiefs are born, and they reared in the community that they in order to develop an understanding of the solutions to the problem from their community. When you look at the story of Big Meech, he was watching these brothers that was dealers messing over their own people in the name of the dollar. So he chose the path of righteousness. I'm in this game. I can't get out. So I might as well do the most good I can while I'm in it. And the most good he's seen that he was capable of doing with his skill set is to pass on these keys to the youth about how to handle the money, how to stay out these people's face while you getting the money, and how to treat the sisters when you got money versus when you didn't have money, how to have respect, the mutual respect for your brothers that you getting money with. He was teaching that. That's chief stuff. That's what chiefs do. Peasants don't do that. You got to have the blood and the right, and then you got to do something that shows who you are by your function of work. Angel Bay was supposed to tear this motherfucker up. Excuse me again, bro. I'm trying not to give you points, but Angel Bay was supposed to tear it up. But our people left him hanging because they didn't know who he was, because they don't know our tribal culture. Because I remember our memories is erased. They fed us false history of who we was, reclassified us in a legal system. The right to bear arms was restricted from us, so we couldn't protect ourselves, because when we protect ourselves, we the coldest at it. Then they turned around and started incorporating us into their military, into under their jurisdictional control, and use us to whoop everybody on earth. Who is we? We whoop everybody on earth, no matter how big their military was, and they got everybody looking at the people of the land like we the big bad wolf, but we just been a flock of sheep following the big bad wolf in the battle. Now, the black sheep grew up to be a full-grown gorilla telling you, I'm not following that dang on wolf. He ain't out there and got none of our interests. He just need our numbers to pad his books, to justify his position on the land. I'm not giving him no numbers. I'm not never telling nobody to vote, because voting is a fraud played on the people's mind. The only reason why they want to know who can organize the vote so they know who they need to control. And as long as they got you thinking that you're doing something by organizing the vote, you don't realize that they're using your tribal power to call your clans people together. And no matter what their skin color is, that you calling your clan people together from across clans in order to fulfill your function on the land. And if you don't know that they using you, they not using you, they misusing you. Because you don't know that they using your ability to rally people around a cause is a signature of who you is on the land. And because of that, they give you a monument. They give you access to finance. They give you the access to operate unrestricted in a system. But as soon as we start realizing who he is and telling the people, we can't go nowhere without these people harassing us. You got chiefs on the land trying to do a righteous work, getting gang stalked by Mr. Smith agents in the Matrix. And all the time they getting scared because all of the rest of the ones that's trapped in the Matrix with them is riding with Mr. Smith, and not Neo and Morpheus left on their own. And they trying to save all of the rest of the clans that's trapped in the matrix. When they get out themselves, they could have been gone. But they stayed in the matrix and returned to the matrix in order to wake everybody in the matrix up. And the key to the matrix is rooted in the mitochondria. The mitochondrial is the birthright of the earth to rule earth under the matriarchal order. That's law. That's not the law of me. That's not the law of the people. That's the great law. The feminine planet is governed by the feminine energy. Earth is feminine. Everybody know that. It's not a secret. And if it's governed by the feminine energy, that means that that's the energy that best suits the order and the structure of the governmental processes among the collective clans around the globe. No matter what their skin color is, they all recognize the matriarchal order. Because no matter who you go to, whether they're a hillbilly, a brother in the hood, the Chinese man, everybody got to go back and talk to mama before they make their decision to make sure they ain't messing up. Go back and look at the old mob movies. The old lady just sitting around like she ain't got nothing to do with nothing. But you better believe when the round table was concluded, the Godfather going to talk to his mama, his sister, his auntie in order to make sure he making the right choice.
Hey, bro, you said something about the mob. I'm glad you brought that up because that brings to me my next question. Now, on my research of studying the different cases between the four chiefs, they used all of them got set up with RICO. This RICO law that they created for the mafia, right? So, because you got Larry Hoover, he in there for RICO. They been labeled as the head of a criminal organization. So how does that work? Like, what do you know about the RICO, and how does that tie in with
First
them?
of all, when you hear RICO, RICO is Spanish for rich. If you know how to get it from the dirt and they need to get rid of you before you start teaching other people how to get it from the dirt, they're going to charge you with RICO. R. Kelly charged with RICO. He's not charged with human trafficking. He's charged with violating RICO laws. Right? Go back and look at what they're charging these people with. Everything is not what they're reporting in the news when you start reading the facts. Baba not charged. He's charged under RICO. Remember, we was at war. We was declared as enemy combatants to the corporation, the United States, by the Supreme Court. We didn't rule it, they did. We didn't declare to be their enemy. They declared to be our enemy. And we got to always remember, we were sold out by other tribes, or they couldn't have conquered nobody. They was sicking us on each other because they couldn't fight us by themselves. And we fell for it. We not falling for it in 2024. It's a wrap. All you got to do is keep watching. It's a wrap. The same thing that Kendrick just did out west, they just did the same thing in New York. Last year, they did it in Detroit first. But the people of the land know what's going on. Even if they don't understand it on a conscious level, they soul know. And you can run from it all you want to. You can duck, you can hide. You can go crawl under a log. You can hide in the basement. You can get in the attic. It don't matter. This is not going to stop what's coming. It's not going to stop what's coming.
Yeah, so like I say, Jeff, none of these guys were really caught in the act of committing no crimes. They watched Baba for years. Dr. Malachi York then God find nothing on them, and so they had to use that RICO, just like Big Meech. Big Meech said they never seen me selling no drugs. They already taught me balling, and he said balling a crime. You know what I'm saying? It's balling out of control of crime. And they really got mad when he brought a giraffe and elephant to the club to his birthday party. They in there chilling, a giraffe and an elephant in the club. You know what I'm saying? Big Meech was doing a lot, but like I say, the RICO, man, they say that it's for racketeering, right? And they really ain't gotta. You really ain't gotta be caught doing nothing in the act. You could just be associated with guys that's doing something, and they could be informants, just like Jacob York and Damian Pryor were doing check frauds and scamming on houses and things. and the FBI get up with them, just like people that probably was working with Big Meech that was part of, say they were part of BMF. They were doing some kind of crime and they got busted. And what they would do is just take the chief or the head guy and say, oh yeah, he's responsible for these guys' crimes. So therefore, we should charge him with RICO, meaning that he's the head of the organization. They've been going back always since Al Capone, you know what I'm saying, with the RICO. So
No, RICO not that old.
Go ahead.
RICO not that old. RICO they created RICO to bring the mob down. It has nothing to do with criminal activity. It has everything to do with seizing assets of the people that they convict of a crime. It has nothing to do with whether a crime is actually committed or the government is fabricating the crime. None of that is concerned under RICO. It's only about seizing the assets of those they believe is part of the criminal enterprise. This was allowing them to capture the dude that been working at General Motors for 40 years. His son get caught selling dope. Now they seizing all his assets, even though he got the records to show where it came from. It don't matter. Under RICO, because the kid lived in his house, it made him accessory under RICO. Anybody, if somebody bought a car and he was driving it, they seize all the assets. That's to stop the drug dealer from buying cars in their mama name, buying cars in their auntie name, right? See, that's the way that we used to get around having to report our assets, because we go to the family member who could afford it and give them the money, and then they purchase the asset. They caught on to it. This is all under the racketeering and corrupt organizations. The most corrupt organization is the one who wrote the law. This is what y'all not understanding. This is the key piece to the puzzle. The ones that's writing these laws on the books is the corrupt people. They using the laws of the Levite under the Khazarian mafia to control us. And as long as we fall in the triangulation program that they laying down, and we continuously resisting to each other breaking free from the tyranny, we gonna be subject to them. So we needed people in high places that can bring the machine down from the inside. This is what you see Donald Trump doing. I don't care two drops in a bucket about Trump one way or the other. I just know what he doing. I don't gotta like him, but I know what he doing. I'm not voting for him and nobody else because I know what it means, right? The Electoral College elect the president, not the popular vote, period. And then they have all of these people stealing the vote in secret organizations by hijacking the ballot count to confuse the people. So when the Electoral College make their choice, it'll seem one way, but it's actually another way. They already knew who they was finna put there. Before you ever cast a ballot, they knew the only control the voter has is local government. They can't get in the position in local government without the community involvement. That's tribal in nature and in origin. They can't change it. They don't like it. They have some places broke up into parishes. Some places is broke up into wards. Other places are broke up into districts. And you have some city councilmen, some you have city aldermen, right? All these is tribal positions that they refill with corporate operatives. The mayor is the town mother seat. The deputy mayor is the man who comes out and say what the mayor told him to say, but they switched the roles and reversed it. And then they start putting drag queens in feminine places. So now we chasing drag queens across the land trying to exhume our history out of a Moorish paradigm in order to see a tribal position and a tribal superior order. They can't trap us with the same stuff that they use because I done already pulled the cover off of it. Once you expose their conjures to the public, they don't work no more. You take all of the secrecy off of it. You unveil it. You bring it and you say, this is what they done. The spell of Kingu, the spell of Leviathan, right? The George Washington conjure. All it is the same thing recycled through different ages, right? Leviathan mean the great beast, the great water beast. It's really talking about, it calls it the great serpent. But I was watching C-SPAN back in the early 2000s, like 2003, and there was a general describing something that America has called the Leviathan Force. The Leviathan Force is the American strategic contingent around the earth of American positioned ships and military bases in order to wrap serpentine fashion around the globe so that they can respond to any threat anywhere on the globe in less than an hour. That is currently in place and is no longer called the Leviathan Force. Now it's called the Earth Alliance and the Space Force, because the serpent rises up from the ground and his head touches the sky. This is old science. This stuff is so old you can go pull it out of some scrolls in the Vedic catacombs in India, in Tibet. It's still there. It's still recorded. I just know it from being here so many times. I know where the information is kept. And all of the Alexandrian library was shuttled underground to the Vatican library. And that's why the catacomb, what they say they burned down Alexandria, all they burned was duplicates. The originals is in, that's why you got to have a certain level in the Catholic Church to even get into the library. Go look up Mario Belignio, former translator of ancient Semitic documents for the Catholic Church. He speaks French, but you got translations of what he's saying, and you just check him out. He telling you the same thing that I'm telling you. He reading it in the ancient documents, and he coming behind me saying the same thing. Well, really, he coming in front of me, but I found out about him later. Right? The same with Zechariah Sitchin, Eric Von Daniken. They all know what's up. David Icke.
Yep.
Right? He wasn't just over there talking to Credo Mutwa because he just bumped into a Sanusi.
Right.
He was sent over there by somebody who needed to put Credo Mutwa's information in the public domain according to the tribal tradition of the African priesthood.
Mm-hmm.
He was the only valid Sanusi in South Africa at the time. The other ones was what they call Babalaos, was all fakes. They was frauds. They was perpetrators. They was hustlers. They was all they was Christian preachers dressed up like African shamans.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You don't know how the war go. They send the priest first. Why do they send the priest first? So they don't have to spend so many bullets, is what they say. If you send the priest first, you cut the war in half. Then you send in the bankers before you ever send an army. Why you send the bankers in next? To alter the standard of living. But they can't meet the standard of living because you absorbing all of their resources and they don't see it. So while you absorbing the resources, you inflating their living standard, but you reducing their ability to earn and make a living. So you using inflation to block them out of their own inheritance. And they don't know what's going on, and they just going along to get along.
Hey, Rod. Okay. My next question I got for you, man, because based on me putting this whole storyline together on them taking down the princes of the land, the George Washington challenge, and everything, and how that the connection with Dr. Malachi Z. York, Jeff Ford, Larry Hoover, all being in the same prison, Florence, Colorado, which is really a prison for terrorists because they label these four chiefs
Stop
as
right there.
terrorists. Go ahead.
Stop right there. Terrorist is an artificial term. It's the boogeyman. It's a ghost that don't exist. The terrorist is the corporation that's terrorizing us. That's the only terrorist. They don't make a prison for putting people in prison. Right? So they'll never put a terrorist in prison until we take over. And as long as we ain't in power, they in power. And it ain't gonna be no secret when we in power. So we let them run their little plays, their little audibles, but the game is too far. We always ahead of them in the game. Because everything that they use to try to hold us down becomes a stepping stone for us to come up on. And they say every time we bury them, they grow from the dirt. We baby kids. We don't die. We multiply. Colors.
Hey, the next part, because that was a two-part question. I appreciate that. The next part of that question is, like I said, on my study, I figured out that Jeff Ford was in Chicago. Larry Hoover was in Chicago. Going back to Noble Drew Ali, eventually setting up his thing in Chicago. And then now with the ongoing thing with King Von and the new drill music and how it's a war zone pretty much in Chicago still right now today. Like people getting killed every day in Chicago. What is your
Chicago,
perspective? Huh?
I said, it ain't just Chicago, but go ahead.
Yeah. It ain't just Chicago, but I'm just making the connection with Larry Hoover, Jeff Ford, and Noble Drew Ali, and then they calling it Chirac and the new drill music with Chief Keef, Von them, and this whole old block thing and all that, right? The murder scene, the drill music scene. Why do you think Chicago is like a central point for COINTELPRO operations? I believe that this is all is. Why do you think that Chicago is so like one of those spots? Go ahead.
Chicago is an ancient metropolis. The Grand Doula Center used to be where Cook County Hospital is. It was a small village of women that only birthed the children of the highest chiefs of the land. They would go there to be born. So when we come back, we naturally come back in the area we used to. So all they had to do now is watch longitude, latitude, and stellar alignments. They know when we coming. Because we follow the pattern of the universe, because we incarnated spirits of nature in physical form as human beings. As we take the physical form, they put Chicago was what you call a hot spot. All of the major cities where we have a metropolis and a large collection of us was a hot spot for COINTELPRO infiltration and operations. They had 400 names to be neutralized in the 60s when they created the mission statement. They had 400 names in Chicago. The very top name, the number one name, was a brother named David Barksdale. He was number one on their list to neutralize. Number two on their list was the chairman of the BPP in Chicago named Fred Hampton. He was number two to be neutralized. Number three was Chief Malik Angel Bay, formerly at the time known as Jeff Ford. And he was tied with his comrade that he came up with that they call Big Bull. Right? And they used to confuse him with a guy that used to be with Larry and David named Big Bull. So you had a red bull and a blue bull in Chicago on the chief line, right? And then you had King of all kings was King David. His ultimate job was once the tribes tribe up and we remember who he is, he was to go to all the other chiefs across the land, forming an alliance to overthrow the fraudulent system. So he was number one that they had to get rid of. So when you hear the stories about King David, you hear him call him the king of all kings. right? What makes him that is his ability to know what the problem is in that area and talk to their local king, their chief, right? These not terms that we used to use until we was westernized. So chief and king became synonymous with Miku, right? It was a couple of other names, but I ain't gonna get into that right now. But anyway, Chicago, the top 50 names that was on the list is either dead or in the penitentiary by 1985. The top 50 names on the Chicago COINTELPRO was either dead or in the penitentiary by 1985. Most of the ones in the top 50 was dead. All of the ones that they named that they couldn't get to take a job for good, decent living, they neutralized them by incorporating them into the system. And then the rest of them, they continue to pursue them beyond until they got them all taken care of, the whole 400. So now they did the same thing in Los Angeles. They did the same thing in New Jersey. They said the same thing in New York. They said the same thing in Philadelphia, which gave us the Philadelphia Move giant African family slaughter of the government. They never stopped attacking us, but we wasn't allowed to attack them back. We was only allowed to defend ourselves. And this is why they underwrote the right to bear arms and say you could only have a firearm, a rifle or a shotgun for hunting purposes, and that was it. No. Read the early American document. The right to bear arms was created to fight the government. Mm-hmm. For the tribes to be able to fight the government by force, right? Because they knew the government was going to overrun the people because they knew it was a scheme from the beginning. Mm-hmm. So you have to make the enemy put it in writing because he's not going to abide by it no other way. Because he got selective amnesia. I didn't make that agreement with you. That's why they be calling us Indian givers, because they telling us we made agreements we didn't make. And we telling them, no, we ain't honoring that bullshit because there's no chief on this land that believe in selling land. We don't believe in that. You can't sell the land. You can't sell your mama, so you can't sell the land. It's the same to us. You can't sell your children. They sell their children and their mamas. They not like us. Segue. Kendrick Lamar. Drake.
Right? Hey, by the way, Ross started that they not like us, man, because he the first one that said they look like us, but they ain't us. And then that's trending around the world. That they saying that Kendrick Lamar diss song is the biggest diss song in history. Like they got news anchormans doing it. They in the church doing it. See walking up, man, it's going crazy. That song going crazy. They not like us. And also, you also coined the thing, bringing Big Mama back, right? Big Mama back on the land. That brings the next question about the matriarch and how does it play a part in getting the four chiefs released, the four chiefs to walk, because Dr. Malachi York said that it was going to be a matriarch that got him out. Now, a lot of people are saying this and that, you know what I'm saying? But what is the connection with the matriarchs and these four chiefs walking? And why is it important that we need these four chiefs out on the land? Go ahead.
Look, this is the purpose of alerting people to the returning matriarch. It's called jurisdictional supremacy. It falls under something called the divine right of kings. The only thing that trumps the divine right of kings is the divine right of the queen. All hail the queen mother, for she is the mother of the king. Right? So in the Freemasonic lodges where they did all this dirt at, they used the death of Hiram, the son, and they used the shrine of the matriarch, Big Mama, And they continue to do the rituals to keep Hiram sleep so that he won't wake up Big Mama. Because if Hiram wake up Big Mama and she say clean up the land, he gonna tear something up from coast to coast with no remorse. But the problem is people don't remember the culture, so they don't know how they're using these Masonic rites to usurp the culture in your face, behind your back. They not doing nothing that we wasn't doing 300 million years ago. It's all the same thing. It's the recycling of the recycled material. That's all it is. It's cycles within cycles of time continued along the lines of the mind. In other words, a mental loop, a infinity loop, a figure eight, right? And the ice skater's been telling us since Atlantis to pay attention to the figure eight. Don't pay attention to the girl that's sexy as hell painting the eight. She telling you where to look to solve the problem. And the eight is the two mirrors facing each other. We monkey flipping in the middle. Right? And you playing monkey in the middle, but they throwing keys over your head and you won't catch them. But some of these monkeys be backflipping in order to see the key in slow motion as he move, so he can snatch it out of air and they won't never know he had it. Until it's time for the key maker to unlock some back doors and let some hostages out. This is the key maker opening the back door to let the hostages out. Who is the hostages? The ones that's held in hostile conditions. Makes them a hostage. The conditions is hostile because they under the jurisdictional supremacy of the enemy. If you want to overthrow the enemy, you put the power where it goes back in the matriarchal seat. When the power goes back to the matriarchal seat, gives the matriarchs of the land superior jurisdiction to the corporate fiction, which gives them the ability to order the release. But the old system had to fall for the new system to come online. All this is in the history books, been repeated a gazillion times. They always telling us a story about Napoleon was trapped in prison and then they sent the soldiers to go kill him while he was in prison, and they all joined forces with Napoleon and left the island and went back and made him the emperor of France. Come on now. The story is repeated over and over again. It's over and over again.
Hey, Rod, my next question I got for you, because I wanted to get it on archives, is I know that all the four chiefs were framed and set up some kind of way, and it seemed like it's always our own people, or the people that infiltrate us that look like us but ain't us, that's turning us in. Like, with Pops, it was Jacob York and the people that was part of the tribe that was setting them up to get out of their own crimes. So with Larry Hoover, because Larry Hoover is your chief, Larry Hoover is GD, the GD chiefs. Shout out all my GD. Growth and development, right? Shout out my growth and development guys. How was Larry Hoover framed? Because they set people up with murders, they withhold evidence. That's these killer clowns tactics. Could you go in a little bit on what you know about Larry Hoover's being set up? With some of the things that because he was talking about voting and all that. He was getting into the voting thing. You was talking about the voting and about voting and all that. Larry Hoover was real big on trying to control the votes at one point in Chicago and all that. So could you go in on that? Go ahead. On how Larry Hoover was set up.
So the thing with Larry Hoover is the first case he was on back in the early 70s. They said that Larry told somebody to kill somebody because they had swindled him on some drug money. Right? Now, they didn't have Larry Hoover recorded telling nobody to kill nobody, but because the guy was one of Larry's soldiers, go back to what we were saying about the r.i.c.o. They want the top guy. They want the top guy. Well, whether he ordered it or didn't order it was inconsequential to the system because his name was on the documents for COINTELPRO. If they can connect him by what they call association to the person who committed the crime, that's sufficient enough evidence for them to charge him as accessory. So whether he ordered it or not, I can't tell you. I don't know. But did they have evidence to support the allegations? No. But the guy that they said did the killing, they paroled him. They paroled him in the 90s, but they kept Larry. Think about that for a minute. That guy that they arrested with Larry got paroled. His co-defendant got released. You know what they did to Larry? Instead of releasing him when they released his co-defendant, they went and got up and trumped up some more charges on the RICO Act and the drug conspiracy when the government was bringing the drugs over in the quantity anyway.
Right.
Right. So the government dumping the drugs in the community, and when you're not on the land, you can't properly govern the land. If Larry was at home, he wouldn't tolerate drug dealers in the community. What he would do is he would either find out where it's coming from and cut it off at the source. If it's coming in from the government, he'd bring it to the attention of the people to cut it off at the source, which is where it was coming from. Iran-Contra proves that without doubt or contradiction. All of the mass quantities of drugs, the Freeway Ricky Ross dope case, that brother was set up by the government from word go. He should have never been prosecuted because the government was running an illegal enterprise that ensnared him in the crime. The government is not supposed to commit a crime and then ensnare you in their crime. They're running an ongoing criminal enterprise. That's what they've been doing to all of us. The United States Corporation is an ongoing criminal enterprise. So it had to be removed in order for the people to live their best life on earth again. You can't live under the rule of tyrants and don't overthrow the tyrants and go work with the tyrants and think they're going to give you any favor. They'll give one or two favor to keep the rest of us in the toilet. Nope, it's not going down like that this time. They asked the wrong chief to speak to the people and tell them what's going on. If they have to come to me to get this corporation to go an extra day, it's going down that day. It's not going to get 1 day extra from me. I'm not going to agree to anything that's belligerent to the great law and to the return of the matriarchy. Nothing. And this corporate system is belligerent to all things righteous on the earth. So we only got one remedy. Band together and oust the imposters as a collective. Stop worrying about what somebody look like and worry about the ones moving in the same direction as you, because that's how you generate a power base that they can't control. As long as they got you fighting people because of their skin color, their hair texture, their political affiliation, their religious doctrine, they got you. You trapped. You trapped until you break that mental paradigm. You trapped. And a lot of these so-called woke people is trapped too because they are the vegans. Then turned into a cult, a violent cult. Everybody ain't supposed to be vegan. You're supposed to eat your ancestral diet for your optimum performance because they wouldn't have spent thousands of years incorporating a diet that's as harmonious to your genetic makeup as they evolved on the land. It's okay to eat foods from other places, and test your palate. But when you remember what the ancestral diet is, it's different. Some of them was vegan. All of them wasn't. But everything that they doing now, they even feeding the vegans fake vegetables. So they want to be mad at us because we eating fake meat. We eating fake meat, they eating fake vegetables, and we arguing about who eating the right food.
Go ahead. Speak on this.
It's the paradigm. It's the control mechanism. As soon as we stop judging other people because we ain't all supposed to be the same, think the same, and act the same, as soon as we get the judgment out of our heart, we start clearing the pathway for some good shit to come back. But as long as we so busy judging everybody because they don't look like us, they don't talk like us, they don't walk like us, except for them certain ones that ain't us. We know who they is because they the ones start always picking on the ones trying to do what's right for the people. They want to tear them down, right? Just because a person got a lot of knowledge in one area don't mean he's a fully evolved. He might only be evolved in one area. Sometimes in our book of life, we put it that way so we can only evolve one way to make us most effective in the area we effective at. So we don't want to hear nobody else's paradigm, understanding, perception, concepts, ideologies. We want to resort to the gossip factor, anything outside of the paradigm that I understand. Don't attack the message, attack the messenger. Right? But they don't want to deal with the message. They never want to deal with the message. They always want to attack the messenger. Oh, he ain't holy enough. He ain't righteous enough. Oh, he made too many mistakes. Oh, he whooped somebody 30 years ago. Man, get out of here with that. You find somebody squeaky clean. Find somebody squeaky clean. I'm going to show you somebody that don't got no life experience. Right? And you need life experience in order to understand how life is supposed to go. Because as long as you don't know how life is supposed to go, you're going to attach yourself on to stuff that don't serve your greatest interests. Sometimes it's you to caboose on the enemy's train. Homage to Malcolm X. Just because you made it from Chicago to New York at the caboose don't mean you're in a better position. You're just in a different place. Position's still the same. The ass is the ass.
Now, hey, my next question, because we talked about all of four chiefs, but we mentioned Jeff Ford. Now, I'm also in my research of connect. Cause I got a whole bunch of stuff coming out, and we're gonna be breaking more of this stuff down. I'm just getting your perspective on it, so I can add it to the stuff that I'm putting out, breaking all this stuff down. And we'll get to Tookie Williams for the person that asked the question about Tookie, because Tookie one of the chiefs on the land too. He was one of the chiefs on the land. Jeff Ford. Now, Jeff Ford, he also was praying with the r.i.c.o, and like I said, it's the thing that they use. What do you? Because they tried to tie Jeff Ford into with a foreign government, and I'm saying to myself, I'm studying in Doc case too. They talking about Doc is connected with Libya, right? And I'm seeing how they use the connection with Jeff Ford being connected with a foreign government and Muhammad Gaddafi and all that. Yeah, Libya and all that. I'm seeing how they use that to say that he was working for a foreign government to overthrow America. And could they be using that in Dr. Malachi Z. York takes the thing with Libya to say that, oh yeah, he working for a foreign government, because they was already scared of Dr. Malachi Z. York anyway, and thinking that he was an agent because he spoke all these languages. You know, agents can speak a lot of languages. Most of them
he was an agent.
Go ahead on that. Go ahead. I'm just making the part down about.
Yeah, they didn't think Baba was an agent. They thought he was exactly who he said he was.
Yeah, right.
Saeed Israel Hadi El Mahdi. Later, Malachi Zodak El. Right? Later, Dr. Malachi Z. York. Returning back to his motherland. That's the problem. Let's set the record straight. Go back to the book. When the Arabs didn't want him no more because he was exposing a fraudulent religion as an imam in their religion that speak the language, that translates the Quran, that reads and translates the Hadith, right? That's the problem to the Islamic faith, because now all of the great sheikhs and imams have to deal with whatever he say because he speak the language. This is where the problem first came in. If you remember, when they sent the assassin to kill him in New York, at the same time, they trying to indict him for insurance fraud, saying that he was firebombing his own buildings when he was warring with the Sunnis. See, we don't remember that. We got selective amnesia. We only remember the dirt that they accuse him of, but we don't remember all of the dirt they tried to pin on him that didn't stick first. And whenever they can't get a leader under nothing else, they give him a sex case because the allegation is the underlying evidence, and they don't got no physical evidence. They fabricated a herpes test that say he got herpes, but he got years of doctors' STD check screens going back to the 70s. He ain't never test positive for herpes. Then he got checked since he been locked up, and he still don't test positive for herpes. So he only had it long enough to give all the victims herpes. That don't make no sense. That defies logic. You can't only have it for 3 years and then give it back. It's supposed to be detectable for the life of the person because you create the antibodies to fight the virus off. They say it's not curable. You can't get rid of it. And they say it's genetically traceable. Now, somebody else in his family, and I'm not going to say no names, you might put it in one of your videos exposing the fraud, but one of his family members have this strain of herpes that all of the victims claim they got. Or they doctor's report claim they got.
We know who we talking about. We gonna get him. Like, we lining there. Everybody getting lined up. Trust to believe. They thought it was over. But hey, it's about to come out. Truth about to unfold. But this is the part I'm talking about though. Jeff Ford with the foreign government. Why? Like they try to say that Libya was giving him $2 million to buy weapons or bombs or a rocket launcher. I think it was that they said that he had, and
That
then
was
he was going.
entrapment. They set him up.
Okay, could you go in a little bit on that so I can have that on record
So
about this? Okay, go ahead.
the police listened to record. They bugged the fort over in Chicago on the south side, on the low end. When they bugged this fort, they said that they was talking in code. So they wrote up a whole bunch of stuff that the code's supposed to be saying, right? But nobody in the organization confirmed they was talking in code. They say they was having general conversations, and they said that the conversations they was having was code. So the government wrote up the interpretation of the code that these brothers supposed to be speaking. Then once they write up the interpretation of the code, they send a guy in as an undercover to lure them into purchasing a rocket launcher. Right? And in the process of some of his guys following this entrapment to buy the rocket launcher that didn't even work because they said it didn't work. Right? So they sold him one that didn't work, and they said before they find out it don't work, we got to arrest them all. Right? So they went about arresting them, and Jeff was already in prison on some petty stuff that I can't even like remember what it was because it was so simple compared to what they end up giving him all his time for. He wasn't even supposed to still be in prison when they was doing this case. They just holding him in there. We call it when you go past your sentence, they call them flops. Right? They didn't want to parole him, so they kept flopping him. The same thing they did with Larry. They kept flopping him, denying you the right to parole so that they can keep you in bondage and under their control. Right? So this is what keeping him in there. So now that they didn't trick these brothers into buying a rocket launcher, right? Now they go arrest everybody and charge them with terrorism, the first terrorist case in the United States at the time. And this is the same time Iran-Contra is blowing up. When you talk about registering under the Foreign Agent Act, when Iran-Contra was discovered, Ronald Reagan, George Bush, Oliver North, and I forget the funny name because he got a funny name like Poindexter, but they was all supposed to register under the Foreign Agent Act because they was acting outside of the jurisdictional authority of the government. So they had to be acting in some interest that wasn't part of the government, which makes them a foreign agent. But they never made them register. Muammar Gaddafi at the same time was offering money to all of the organizations of the land, and he offered Farrakhan 5 million. They told
Right.
Farrakhan if he wanted the 5 million, he have to register under the Foreign Agents Act. And he was like, I'm not registering nothing. I'm not no foreign agent. I'm not belligerent to my people over here. Y'all is. So he told Gaddafi, I would not be taking that because I'm not finna go to war with these clowns over here about it. And he said, we'll figure out something else. Help somebody over there, right? And that's another way of helping me. So what'd he do? He started organizing the African nations, and then they really ticked him off. So Ronald Reagan, allegedly, I think it was George Herbert Walker Bush that really ordered it, but they said Ronald Reagan ordered planes to strike Muammar Gaddafi's home, which killed several of his children.
Yeah, they've been yeah. Go ahead.
Right, but we be forgetting about this, the dirt they doing. That they showing us how they using their power position to misrepresent us, and they are foreign agents the whole time. Everybody in the upper echelons of government is working for the Crown of England and the Pope and the Swiss banks, or we call the World Bank International Monetary Fund. That's who they work for. They don't work for us. So how are we going to be able to elect somebody that don't work for us in a position under the pretext that they're going to be working for us? That's retarded. They want people to go out and rally people to vote so they can see who have the sway over the people. And then they can figure out who they need to control and what concessions to give that particular individual. Right? So the whole entrapment with Angel Bay was all a construct of the COINTELPRO operation that was running, and it's still running. It didn't stop. They just changed the name of it. Right? They changed it to what's called Ready Exercise 1984. Right? And it's a little subsection in there called Operation Cable Cutter or Cable Splicer or something like that. That little subsection tells you to watch the border to Mexico. Why is it telling us to watch the Mexican border? Because if let's say Larry and El Chapo come out and explain to the people the fraud that's been ran on us and the dirty players, and El Chapo call all of the cartels in Mexico to unify, and Larry called all of the clans that they classifying as gangs to misclassify inside of our indigenous right and say, look, we finna get rid of them. Ain't gonna be enough military at the border under that without it being a mass slaughter. So they introduced in the Readiness Exercise 1984 to stop the chiefs that's coming up in Central and South America and the islands from communicating with us. They can't stop what's coming, but they can put every obstacle in our path to slow us down as much as possible. And the only obstacle we face with now is critical mass awareness. We already done hijacked the whole internet where we was already here. We was already here. We done hijacked. Then they try to say y'all wasn't already here. Then all of the brothers and sisters that have been listening is coming out with the receipts. They're showing it to them in the books that was written, in the pictures that was taken, in the paintings that was painted, in the hieroglyphs on the walls, in the carvings. We there. We there. And then now you got $2.50 Indians coming out saying they not the real ones we is, and they can't even do a tribal dance without a two-step method. But you can go anywhere and see the fancy footwork across the land. You could see it in Memphis. You could see it in Miami. You could see it in Houston. You could see it in Dallas. You could see it in LA, San Francisco. You could see it in Vegas. You could see it in Chicago, Detroit, New York. You could see it in New Jersey, in Maine, Delaware, wherever we at, you could see that tribal footwork. That's the cultural dance of the geographical region.
Like the
We
sea walk.
already all that C-walk, B-walk, jigging, juking. It's all over the land. It's that fancy footwork. You can hide who we is with paperwork, but our DNA gonna make you know where we at. All we gotta do is know who we are. Once you know yourself, you gonna know your plan. And then your feelings gonna be so hurt when you really get the full understanding when I say they look like us, but they ain't us. When it sink in and you see all of the traders that caused our worst losses look like us, but they doing something that's out of character with any one of us that's about to win. In order for them to behave out of character, they got to have a different character set than the ones who wouldn't behave in that manner. And then you got to remember, they recruited other chiefs to go against us. I'm just trying to make sure everybody got a right to correct the wrongs of the ancestral line. And some of them that don't want to correct the wrongs is going to get the guillotine. They're going to come back in the next life where they don't have to figure it out. It'll be figured out for them. Because this is a wrap. You either with us or against us, and it ain't no middle ground.
I guess. Hey, my next question for you, Rod, and we're gonna take questions from the crowd. We got about 24 minutes out till we close out. This is a good one right here, Rod. This is a banger right here. Yeah, this is a banger, man, because this was needed because a lot of people was asking about let the 4 Chiefs walk, right? My next question I have for you.
It's probably gonna be closer to 50 when you see them all on stage together. They have to be brought out into the public for the public to see them, for them to give the report.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's the obligation of the collective chiefs across the land to come together in a time of crisis to give this where you get your state of the state address from the so-called president. He ain't supposed to be giving that. It's supposed to be a state of the clans address across all tribes from the chief that's the spokesman for the collective chiefs.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They know this, so they keep pacifying your cultural memory with an artificial reenactment of the corporation masquerading as your rightful government, and they not. Mm-hmm. They frauds the whole time. Anybody doing business with them is in support of the fraud. Mm-hmm. If you can't do business without them, you are in support of the fraud. As soon as you figure out how to do business outside of their channels and their networks, you stop supporting the fraud.
Hey, Rod, have you ever heard of a tribal bell ringer? One of my buddies asked me about that, the tribal bell ringer. It's like somebody that supposed to keep, I think, like like when people, like you was talking about Mama Bear. You introduced us to Mama Bear. What she was talking about, we always had somebody as a part of the clan that when somebody reincarnate, it's like one of the chiefs was supposed to pass, go to the other side, and then they come back as a little kid, as somebody else. Cause we got a lot of little kids that's popping up now. It seems like they got old souls. They come back from the past. And so, have you ever heard of a tribal bell ringer?
Okay. A bell ringer that's a European term. We wouldn't have called them that, right? But they was the ones that announced to the clan the return of an ancestor, and it was normally the responsibility of one of the elders of the family who read the recorded records of who was born, what day and time. They kept the vital statistical records, and they would make an announcement of all of the children that was born in the recent roll. They would, on a certain day, they would go out and they would start naming the new birth. It's just like you put it in the paper, but only we did everything verbally, right? And we used paperwork, but we didn't use it to entrap people. We used it just to keep record. right? This is why we got ancient texts, because we use the written word to keep record. We didn't use it for manipulative purposes. They use it to ensnare you into contracts that you don't know that you enter into, called adhesion contracts. Remember, anything that's required a license is illegal under the corporate state, and they have to give you a license to give you permission to perform a function that they classify as illegal. Think of everything you need a license for. In their system, without a license, it's against the law for you to do that. Right? That means that they regulating inalienable rights when they tell you can't hunt without a license. They regulating an inalienable right when they tell you can't fish without a license. They regulating an inalienable right when they tell you can't traverse the land with freedom of locomotion without a license. Right? All of those things are illegal under the system that we under, because it's a slave system. If it wasn't a slave system, nobody would tell you you can't go down to the lake and catch a fish and feed your family. Nobody wouldn't tell you that you can't go out, bag that deer to feed them over the winter months, right? Nobody wouldn't tell you that you can't go from point A to point B without a license if you was free, if you wasn't under the system of control, slavery, manipulation, and deception. They use the science of sociology to determine the movements of groups of people. Who move in groups, Elder?
Hey, like animals, like herds, packs,
Right. But in the humans, we call it what?
gangs,
No, that's one name for them.
clans, tribes,
Clans, tribes. Right.
families.
So
Yeah.
when you know how they behave, you can make their natural behavior illegal. And then you can persecute and prosecute.
These
Right?
suckers.
Because they doing their natural behavior.
They even created the agricultural department laws now to where you can't even almost grow your own food on your land. You can't even grow a tomato. They come in there. Oh yeah, you growing a tomato? You can't do that.
That's a violation of your inalienable right. As a caregiver of the land, you have a right to till and garden the soil as long as you properly take care of the tilling and the caring for the land. Just what farming is. This is why they took us off the farms using the sharecropping agreements, the same way they muscled us out of our money in the music industry. Find what you're already doing and monetize it.
Now we see that the interstates that they building is they putting the tollways and everything. It's a lot of things going on where it seems like they trying to auction off. United States corporation is auctioning off all their equipment. They selling all the planes. They get selling the tanks. They selling the RV cars, and it seems like now people had noticed this, and y'all gonna notice this once I say this. And Raw, you make it go in on this a little bit. And probably about a couple years ago, I started to see a lot of a lot of the military vehicles being converted to all white instead of the camouflage normal colors. They being converted to all white, and they put UN on the side. Now, why? Because you're talking about the U.S. shutting down and the government, all this going out of business. Why are we starting to see a lot of UN equipment coming in on the land? I'm starting to see a lot of UN equipment coming on the trains and diesel trucks and these things. You got anything on that, bro?
You got to remember, okay, first let's deal with the selling off of the assets. You know what make billionaires sell off assets?
They know it's about to go down or something, they know it's about to get at the end.
They always do the same thing. They end up in court because they can't pay their bills. And bankruptcy. America been in the bankrupt status since 1931. right? HJR, House Joint Resolution 192, was the settlement of the bankruptcy that allowed the U.S. Inhabitants that they call citizens to discharge all debts in their sovereign capacity. But the problem is the corporation can't do business with a sovereign flesh and blood, so they have to reduce you to paperwork. To reduce you to paperwork, they have to establish a corporate enterprise in your name, give you a birth certificate, declare you a national. A national is the same status as a ship on the high seas. The flag that you fly was representative of the nation you was under. When you was under that contract that expired on July the 4th, 2019, the smartest thing to do was to form your own nation and nationalize, right? But you can't do business with the corporation when you do it. That's how Noble Drew Ali got usurped, and that's what made the Moorish Science Temple fall, right? But remnants of it still persisted because they believed that there was the same power base that Noble Drew Ali had built. Back when Noble Drew Ali was the Grand Sheik of the Moorish Science Temple of America in the flesh, when he first founded it, he had the jurisdictional authority to send a Grand Sheik to any court, argue jurisdiction, and bring you back into the temple for whatever to be dealt with by your own. Somebody went behind his back and made a pact with the government. The Moorish records gonna tell him who it is. I don't know who it was. I got my suspicions who it was, but I don't know who it was. But their name is on the papers. And the reason we know that he got usurped is because the new nationality card said the holder of this card is a U.S. citizen. Right? So that's how you know that somebody went behind his back, because you couldn't be a Moorish national and a U.S. citizen under the Moorish Science Temple as it was originally established, with the high chief being recognized as Noble Drew Ali. And this is why he went to Cuba, right? Because he was a certain jurisdictional supremacy. He got to go. He got to go. But he already knew that he was infiltrated. And what did he say? He said, the only thing that'll surprise me is if a Moor would do right. It's in the oral statements and prophecies. I'm not making this up. Noble Drew Ali said, I can count the number of Moors that's going to make it on one hand and have fingers left. Why was he saying this? He knew he was infiltrated. Any chief that read that know that the Moorish Science Temple has to be infiltrated for him to speak so low of the Moors and be the founder of the Moorish Science Temple. And the only thing that they didn't know is he had went and found out the secrets from the Moorish Zionist Jews in New Jersey, and they went to war in New Jersey. Then they fell over in New York going to war. The war spread all the way to Detroit, and it culminated with his death in Chicago. He didn't ever stop fighting them, and they look like us, but they not us. And we didn't already show the pictures. Right? So now we had to deal with the fact that the contract that the government had to operate for the 200 years, the George Washington Challenge, expired on July the 4th, 1976. But due to us taking them back to bloody war in the War 1812, it gave them an extension to 2012, which coincided with the Mayan calendar, meaning the ancestors already knew that somewhere along the line we was going to rebel and fight back instead of educating ourselves out of the condition. So when Noble Drew Ali is taken out, that's the Red House. They had to get rid of Garvey. Go back and look at the pictures. Garvey had a standing army of us across the land in every major metropolis, about to go to war till he go in and read the ledgers, and now he know he can't take them to bloody war unless he give them more time to conquer us, rule over us, subjugate us, oppress us. So if he take them to bloody war, he asking for more problems when we could just educate ourselves out of the condition. And this is when he came with the motto, up you mighty people, do what you will. Use your willpower and your mental acumen to form your own stuff, right? He said, and I got the 200 years post on my Instagram where you have to scroll down a ways, but it's in there where he acknowledged the 200 years of the oppression. And he said, even if it take 200 years, they can't hold us down. Our ancestral bloodline is too strong. It can't happen. It's not possible. It's beyond the paradigm of something called reason and logic. So as long as if it's outside that paradigm, that means that one of us gonna figure out the trap, tell everybody else how the trap work so it don't work no more, right? We gonna call them by the blood and the right to call out the contract that we was under and cancel it because they never honored it. Fraud and deception, and fraud vitiates all contract. So by exercising the blood and right to cancel their contracts with fraud and non-performance because they never honored one. Right? So now all of their contracts being canceled, they have to surrender the documents that they established their jurisdiction on, that they call foundational document. And once that was done, they gave the foundational document to Empress Redbird. I didn't know her at the time. That means that she was, in order for the people that was holding that as the foundation to the land as a allodial title to give it to her, they knew she was the rightful heir before she was born. And they followed that lady her whole life, giving her misery, hoping she don't never wake up to who she is and exercise her blood and her right to reclaim the tribal jurisdiction of the matriarchies across the land. You can't stop it. It's done now. Now we just waiting on the machine to finish falling and collapsing because the tilt button ain't working no more. Right? When they pull Sleepy Joe out of this race, what they gonna do? They don't got time to campaign a new candidate.
Sleepy Joe ain't gonna make it, man. I don't think he gonna make it to the everybody like they trying to throw it to try to still bad mouth Trump and keep Trump, certain thing. But what I'm saying is that's how, to me, it's all front, because it seems like to me the UN moving in. Now this my question for you, Roy, about the UN thing. Now after the government is out of business,
that's the second part of the question you asked that I didn't get to. So the second part was, why are we seeing all of these UN vehicles? Who was the number one supplier the whole time from the foundation of the UN of military armaments? Who was their number one supplier?
U.S.
So when the U.S. money run out and they need their stuff back, who they gonna get it from?
The UN.
Right. Now, remember, Trump and the White Hats is forming something called the Earth Alliance under Space Force, bringing all of the major countries of the world together to fight the tyranny of the oppressive regimes that use these adhesion contracts to enslave the world, starting at the Vatican. Well, the Pope been overthrown, the Queen, Lizzie's in the box, London Bridge is down, the banks is in the huckabuck, and the only thing left is the military, which is the Americas. Now, when they start bringing their materials back home, before they get a chance to take the UN stuff off, we going to see UN stuff being transported across the land. But when it roll out, it's going to have National Guard on it, because ain't nobody else allowed to police the homeland but the National Guard.
Right.
So whatever you seeing, they mistaking them to probably be repainted.
That makes sense, Rod. That make a lot of sense. Getting they stuff, it's like they liquidate, or they getting back. Like, okay, they like, it's like they coming to collect. I don't know. So like they gave them a loan. And the UN supposed to pay this amount of money back every month or every year on this equipment. But now that the bank got to call all their loans because they bankrupt, they got to pull that equipment back. It's like they got to repo your house, repo everything back, and foreclose all this equipment because they need to liquidate that for the money or for whatever the purpose may be. Going with their bankruptcy since November 3rd, 2020. That's when they really put in the bankruptcy. U.S. corporation put in that bankruptcy November 3rd,
Well, they was
2020.
operating on what's called a memorandum of understanding, which is an addendum to the contract.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what they did that with George Herbert Walker when he declared himself King George I of the United States of America, including Central and South America and Canada. Remember when they was about to come out with something called the Amero after the Euro came out?
Right. The American Union, all that. Go ahead. That's what Credo Mutua was talking about.
So that was George Herbert Walker's attempt to establish the government for the cabal under the New World Order system in the 1,000 Points of Light. He was the highest ranked wizard on the land that was part of the Illuminati government operations that they was running over here. He rose to prominence using his CIA connections and selective assassinations. Most of us don't know that until you seen his funeral, he was still running the government. And when they elected Donald Trump, and Donald Trump was selected by military white hats, they call them the 50 generals, right? But it's more than that. But it was started with 50 generals that was retired, that knew what was going on and couldn't stay quiet. And they started communicating with each other, and they came up with a plan. Put it back in the hands of the tribes, give it back to the people of the land, and they'll balance it out. They'll get rid of all the hate mongering and all of that. If you can let them be who they are, they'll fix all of the problems. But as long as you're trying to stop them from being who they are, you're just going to create more and more problems on their land. They've been using slaughterhouses and bloodletting rituals all over the country in order to keep us subjugated. And this is why you're seeing all of these chicken farms and stuff catching fire, beef farms, mass dying off of cows, all that's GMO. They got to get rid of all of the GMO before they give it back. All of the genetically modified foods have to go, right? So now they will stop putting out genetically modified foods and start putting artificial food stocks in its place. So we can't put that in there no more. We can't use no more Monsanto. We just have to give them plastic now and rework it. So they're giving you fake food now.
Hey, Raw, Trump, man. I was gonna ask you something about Trump. Because they using a lot of people don't know about Trump. Trump go way back, man. I remember when Trump. Cause I did a little back trace on Trump. And Trump been going after these $5 Indians, man, for a while. Like before he even became president, he was always poking fun at these $5 Indians. He used to go down. He used to go to all these conferences and say, "Oh yeah, I went down to that reservation that you got over in New York, where you say these people are Indians, and they don't look like Indians to me. They don't look like Indians to me, man."
Indians.
Go ahead.
They don't look like Indians to Indians. See, Trump knew who we were. Remember, Trump in the early days of the BPP, he was a financier to the Black Panther Party, right? During his college days. Then he left there. He became a staple of the early hip hop scene when hip hop was going from his formation with Kool Herc and them. He was there from the beginning, right? He inherited a slumlord business from his father. He didn't want to be a slumlord, right? But he had to answer to the people from the community. If you go back and look, they had all of these rallies calling Trump to come talk to him. We ain't paying this stuff no attention. We so busy worried about mainstream political farces that we believe that all of the lies that's being told is more true than the truth. Trump was selected by the tribes to buck dance in front of them and take over for us and to push the tribal agenda with the generals who was giving the land back because they knew what was going on with the whole corporate fraud. If you remember when White House was on Zillow, right? You know, that was part of the liquidation of the corporate asset. If you go downtown, if you go down throughout DC now, everything is fenced off, quarantined off. All of those are crime scenes. Everything you see gated in DC is a crime scene. That's why the gates is there. If you look at the, I think it's either the White House or the State Building, they got gallows in front of it now. It's about to be some hangings going on. I hope I get to pull the lever.
Yeah, hey, man, America been under scrutiny since it was founded. United States Corporation was founded by criminals. Now, I mean, what else do you expect but some crime to be a whole bunch of crime be going on? Hey, we're at the hour 30 mark, man. Hey, everybody hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We're gonna come back, man, because like I said, I've been me and Roy gonna do a lot of them. I just been busy trying to get the documentaries for Malachi done and get the one for Big Meech, all them the ones that are done, so that we could get them out and so that everybody can see that the chief been getting set up by the land. You gotta understand COINTELPRO operations, man. Like if you don't understand what this is about, and the George Washington challenge, like we got like it's a whole bunch of receipts that I'm going to be coming out tomorrow and this week that I got that me and Rod got a whole all this stuff. We much covered everything.
Excuse me, the Tupac is bothering me right now. He's saying, "Don't forget Bobby Hutton. Whatever you do, don't forget to talk about Bobby Hutton." You know who Bobby Hutton was, right?
No, hey, I'm glad you said that name. Go ahead on that guy. I don't
Bobby
even
Hutton was he was a teenager member of the Black Panther Party. The police, they stripped down because they knew the police was going to shoot him. And Bobby Hutton didn't strip all the way down. And when he came out, they shot him dead. He was a baby. He was a teenager. He was like 14, 15 years old. Go back and review. Matter of fact, see if you can't find some clips on Bobby Hutton and post them on your page, so people know who he is. They did it the same way they knew who Emmett Till was, Chief Littlehorn.
Huh?
Remember my man asked about the bell ringer, right? Chief Littlehorn is a prime example.
Okay, go ahead.
Only he was supposed to blow the war call. They call it whistling Dixie back then because the South was the ones using the war cry with the whistle and the kazoo and the harmonica. They was using those, but the ones who can do it with their fingers, right? So that's why he was gonna grow up. His name would have been Chief Littlehorn because he was supposed to blow the first trumpet of war when he became aware of who he was. That's why his father left him that ring. He was leaving him in charge of calling that call. When the Dirty Moors found out who they was, they threw the Pale Lady under the bus. And they went and got Emmett Till talking about they trying to keep the peace. If you watch the movie, they make it look like they was with some pale faces.
Wow.
But the original story, they went by themselves. This how you know they look like us, but they ain't us, because ain't none one of us from the tribes that's grown men finna give you none one of our babies because you said he whistled at somebody. I don't give a damn who she is.
Right.
But that ain't what was going on. And then they called the house, but wasn't no adults there. The house was full of children. So they thought they was listening to the adults thinking they gonna bring Emmett back. So when the grown folks get there, they like, where's Emmett? And they like, yeah, so-and-so and them came and got him. Then they went looking for him. Next time Emmett was found, he was strapped to a large appliance in a river, beat to oblivion. And then they said in the aftermath, it was a so-called white mob. But ain't no pale faces go get him though.
Damn, that's deep.
They heard him whistling Dixie. They knew that if he figure out who he is, his ability to whistle like that is going to trigger a frequency in the warring clans that's going to call them to arms. They can't have that happen. So they murdered him.
Damn.
Strange Fruit wasn't just random people that looked like us that was being murdered. They was killing elders and leaders.
Right.
Organizers, yeah, they was killing people that was instrumental in the resistance. They have us believing that they only did it because we look like we look. That's not what they was doing. The Black Hand was leading the raid. And we know who them Negroes was.
Mm-hmm. They not
right?
like
So when you see the Strange Fruit, you need to understand what was going on. They was getting rid of your leadership and your elders. The witch hunts, they was getting rid of the oracles and the seers. And the ones who was teaching the sciences, the yoni magic to the pale-faced women so that they can help back up their conjure. They can't have that.
Mm-hmm.
They burn them all. Mm-hmm. But we don't pay attention to what we be reading when we read these stories, and we go with the assumed narrative instead of looking at the fine print. Don't nobody want to read the fine print. That stuff tedious and is boring. But it's all of it is there. It's just that how do you translate the information? What are you really looking at? You know, are you bringing your holographic memory into play to play this scenario out? Because you're going to see that there's an anomaly to the stories. As soon as you realize it's an anomaly, then you're going to go back over your culture and your history, and you're going to say, hey, wait a minute. This was supposed to happen with this guy, but it didn't ever happen. Why didn't it happen? Then you're going to see the hand of the enemy at play and how they brought him down. But most of us so busy fighting us because we are paranoid from the ones that look like us that ain't us.
Right.
So anybody that look like us coming with solutions to the problem look like, wait a minute, the last ones came, Sweetheart Swindle Big Mama talking about he gonna help her run the farm, turned us into some stuff called a slave. We don't even know what that is.
Right.
Now you got unapologetically Africans talking about the tribes of slave holders when the people that came over here brought slaves with them. We didn't have none.
Right.
And matter of fact, if we captured somebody in war, they became a full member of the tribe.
Right.
You on my team now, buddy. I caught you. Caught you slipping. Now go back and tell your clan that you've been captured. And we're going to go on about this, and we're going to give you a wife and a little hut to live in, and you're going to go over there, and y'all going to have y'all little family. Well, a slave.
Make treaties by marriage on the land.
Yep. That's another thing. People got this old Roman homosexual idea of relationships. That's why they don't work. Well, they all say they want romance, right?
Yeah, there you go.
You know what romance is?
Go ahead.
It's a bunch of old hairy men seducing little boys. That's what romance is. I'm not romantic.
Wow.
That's what. Go back and look. Go look at the iconography of Rome. All you're gonna see is some grown men with some naked little boys around.
Yeah.
That's why they got kicked out of Europe. They gonna come over here with that stuff, trying to undermine the divine feminine with cross-dressers, and we fell for it.
Yeah, they the one wore the high heels, the wooden shoes, and they was wearing skirts and shit. We weren't wearing no skirts over here. They were wearing. They came over here with skirts on, wood teeth, wigs. These niggas was wearing wigs. The Wigamo party, you know what I'm saying? With
wigs is ancient. Wigs is not new. Everybody be talking about these sisters wearing hair pieces and weave and wigs. That ain't nothing new. Our women have been adorning themselves with
And wearing wigs. I'm not talking about the women. I know we did that in ancient Kemet. We started at ancient Kemet, makeup and all that. I'm
It
talking
was before then, but ancient Kemet is a good example where you can actually see the artifact. Yeah, the men, that's a whole nother animal.
those men, those Anglo-Saxons who try to have their hair like the Moors. They
They
start
more
wearing,
like they more
yeah,
like anal Saxons.
yeah, right, right.
Look,
Hey,
the world was the responsibility of Earth was put in the hands of drag queen priests, pretending to be priestesses and oracles of the Delphi sisters of the Sibyl, daughters of Isis. The Earth under Anunnaki reign was in three major regions. The Americas was the land of Tahuti. Africa and India was the land of Enki. In Europe and Asia was the land of Inanna. And each one of them had 7 matriarchal rulers. And each one of them looked slightly different. They all different skin colors and hair textures. America was always the great melding pot because all the clans from around the earth would send delegations and brides to the Americas to marry the chiefs of the land because they wanted to be tied in to the first family. The first family of Earth come from the Americas. I don't know. They can say what they want about it, the out of Africa stuff. That's fine. I don't have no problem with that. But I just know the first family of the Earth families is the families of Tahuti, which is the Americas, the Turtle Island, the first land of the pyramids. I don't know about that other stuff they talk about. That is pseudoscience. We spontaneously emerged all over the earth at the same time.
hey, I got more evidence on that, bro. I got more evidence. I'm put a whole tape out called "America: The True World," or this that we was all over the planet at one time. Go ahead.
So when they talk about Tartarian civilization and global civilizations, a good book to read. Remember, I had you get I-9 Returns.
Yep, I got it.
And remember, I had you get I-9 Hyperluminal, which is the second part of the series.
Yep.
In there, she talks about how when the Galactic Council came because they was having this nuclear holocaust on Earth, put us in a light lock. We call it the Van Allen belt. It's the Pleiadian light lock. It's a conjure done by the Pleiadians to make sure that we stay within the confines of the war zone. And it's supported by an Arcturian conjure. The Arcturians are support. That's the only reason the Anunnaki couldn't break it, because they got 2 other galactic royal families that they can't overcome, both of them working together. Right? So it's told them that they're going to either have to fix the problem on the earth that they created by making us live through this chapter of misery, and somebody going to have to either Enlil going to win or Enlil going to lose. He lost. Tahuti won. It's over. The Galactic Council is aware. The Earth Alliance, all of them is aware. And the only people that ain't aware is these chiefs on the land who think that they know everything already and can't nobody tell them that.
Right. Hey, we at this point. We at that point. Hey, y'all, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We got about 1,500 people in here, y'all. Hey, y'all, if y'all want to show Raw some love, we dropped the Cash App and the links. Everybody send them $1, man. 1,500 people send them $1. That'll help them out, man. It ain't gonna be $1. If you want to send them more, go right ahead. He don't do it for money. We just do this because we love doing it. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, big up. We're gonna be back, y'all. We got a lot going on here, man. Go check out them tapes, man. How Dr. Malachi Z. York was set up part 1 through 4. We got about 7 more parts coming out, and we got Doc explaining what was going on himself, right? With the Native American thing, because people saying, "Oh yeah, no, he's not a Native American, he's an African," and this and that. But we're gonna show and prove to you that Doc was going with the Native American thing the whole trial. We got the transcripts. We got the court transcripts, man. We got all the evidence, all of the receipts that we putting out in these videos, and we just not putting It's gonna be everything this person said about that person. We're gonna have all the connections. Then we're gonna do Larry, Jeff Ford, and the other chiefs too. So we're doing Baba first, then we'll go to the next chiefs. So we about to get up out of here, y'all. Hey, shit, hey, like I say, show the brother Ross some love. We'll be back, man. If you want to get on follow
Hey,
him on Instagram.
you
Go
want to
ahead.
do a couple questions for about 15 minutes? See if
Go ahead.
people want to go. If the audience got any questions.
We can do it. Do the audience got any questions? We got about 15 minutes. Hit that like, hit that subscribe button, y'all. We the hottest in the game right now.
Hey, look.
Okay,
Well, we talk about Tuki. That man loved his people so much, he let these devils freeze him in a cryogenic chamber for damn near 15 years. He was frozen. I ain't finna let these, I don't trust them enough to let them freeze me. I don't know where he just put this trust in, but it wasn't on none of these devils. Whatever his trust in, he knew somebody was gonna get him out of it because that's wicked. They froze this man in the cryogenic chamber for 15 years. What's the question about the genetic makeup? So what is Trump going to do next? Trump is what you call pushing the card. Have you seen the cover of the Time magazine?
Which one, the Trump card one?
It got Joe Biden on it. Exit stage left. It's got a red cover.
Oh yeah, I gotta check that out. I ain't seen it yet.
I wonder if I could put it in the chat. Nope.
Shows on my laptop. I can put a little bit in on my laptop. Yeah, what Trump gonna do next, man? Was he gonna hold on? Did it kick Rod out? Damn, it kicked Rod out. Hey y'all, hit that like. I'm gonna get Rod back. There you go, right there. Let's see. There you go.
You know, the moves that Trump making are unpredictable on purpose. He know what he gonna do next, but the way that he move is to always keep you guessing what his next move gonna be. That's by design. But if I knew what he was finna do next, I probably wouldn't say it. But I do know that watch your president. Remember, before this fall, we supposed to have a woman president. At the fall, it's supposed to be a woman in the Oval Office. Red cover, time is out. Joe Biden, exit, stage left. They finna announce he dead.
Yeah, I think that woman president gonna probably come from Trump. If Trump take a vice president woman, and they try to put because they've been wanting to get rid of.
Ain't gonna be no election.
Go ahead.
Ain't gonna be no election. That's why they gonna put Kamala. Kamala's still president since. Remember when Joe Biden went for colonoscopy about 2020?
Go ahead. Yep.
Before she could give him back presidency, he has to pass a competency test in case he suffered brain damage during the anesthesia. There's no way he could have passed it because everybody in DC knew he had Alzheimer's. At least that's the story. I posted the article back then when it was going on, while it was hot, while she was a alleged president for 46 minutes, while he was going through his procedure. I said, there's no way that they're supposed to reinstate him because any psychomotor testing is going to show he got Alzheimer's at the stage that they showing us he's in. He wouldn't be fit to run the office, right? So the article I post was one of his sons was telling the reporter that he didn't like the other senators and congressmen making fun of his father's Alzheimer's. Apparently, this is a known thing in the political circles that haven't reached the masses of the people about what was going on around that time. That's why I posted it back then. If I see, I'm gonna look it up when I get off this and try to repost it on my Facebook where it's at. Because if you read the article and you understand how the transfer of power go, she can't relinquish power back to him if he don't pass the competency part of the test from the anesthesia, which is a basic psychomotor skill in memory and recall. If you got Alzheimer's, you're gonna fail it miserably. So they all know something ain't right with them. Right. So the Pleiadians sent a contingent to take on Earth suits to assist in this. A good example of a Pleiadian trying to wake everybody up is a lady named Dolores Tucker. Dolores Tucker is a Pleiadian. It's a couple of more of them in the metaphysical field that's actually doing pretty decent work. The one blind dude, I think he's Arcturian, but he be answering the questions. Most of the time, he be on point. But this is how you know the difference, because the ones who came to help solve the problem, and when you get in the earth realm, coming from the spiritual realm, this stuff is not as clear as you would like to think that it is. It's very, very cloudy and murky when you come from spiritual vision, which is holistic vision, which is holographic vision, down to three-dimensional vision, which is 0.0023% of the light spectrum. That means that almost everything in existence, we blind to it. So we walking blind through the physical realm. So a lot of people that you think is blind don't need eyes to see, like Stevie Wonder, right? Because your optic nerve will find a different way to translate the energy around you into a visual response where you can perceive stuff enough to know what you're looking at. You can actually teach children to read blindfolded, to see through the blindfold. That's what we waiting on. When they finally closed the Federal Reserve, the Federal Reserve was unofficially closed in 2019, and they haven't printed any money since then. About a little less than a month ago, the first senator introduced legislation to get rid of the Federal Reserve. The World Economic Forum, the precedent was set in Florida. The WHO, World Economic Fund, and another organization, I think it was the, I forget what the other one is, but they was declared as terrorist organizations to set a precedent, right? Because once the precedent is set, and that it's aware in the political arena of an organization that's belligerent to the people, somebody had to make it politically known to the public. So in Florida, they declared them as terrorist organizations because of the scamdemic, right? So that puts the World Economic Fund is what I'm leaning on for the money fall and the transfer back to Big Mama Bank. Right. So they'll announce when the bank's going to be closed one day, everybody going to be doing lives talking about their bank ain't doing no business. And that's because when the banks fold, won't be no open banks. You're going to know it's not going to be no secret. In the meantime, if you're worried about your bills, keep doing what you're doing. Just don't enter into no new contracts. A new contract will require your signature. World War III is almost over with. When we actually finishing up World War IV. World War III was called the Cold War, when America was fighting itself on two sides of the water to keep us duped. It's called the Cold War. in the arms race with Russia that they was financing the whole time. It was from the Bolshevik Revolution all the way until the wall fell under the Reagan administration. Mr. Gorbachev, tear down them walls. That was World War III. We finishing World War IV now. I know a lot of Haitians that came to assist in the Gullah Wars. A lot of the priests and priestesses went to New Orleans for conjure root work to support the troops that went to Florida to fight in the hands-on bloody war. If you look at the the Haitian exodus following the Haitian Revolutionary War victory, you're gonna see they went to primarily two places: Florida, and then the other place is New Orleans. So I would think that your father may be a tribal high priest from Haiti that came to assist the conjure work that was being done in New Orleans with other native root workers to help us be victorious in the end. That's my suspicion. So Tahuti was born as the first defender of the earth, and Enlil was the one who initiated the Anunnaki hostile takeover of the earth. When Enki and Inanna first came, they was harmonious with the people of the earth, and they lived here for a very long time without issue. But when Enlil got done conquering everything else he was conquering, he wanted them to expedite the shipments of gold that was more than was reasonable to the resources available at the time. And so he came down here to oversee the project because he said that Enki was too soft on the earth people, and Inanna loved them like they was her own children, which they was in essence. And so he wanted to be more strict on workers to get the work done more efficiently, which as a military leader, he used military methods. That's why everything is regimented and squared off. That's military. When it's in harmony with the matriarchy, the cities is concentric circles to the center. When you go back and read the stories of Atlantis, you hear that the city of Atlantis was concentric circles to the center. That was all of the major metropolises around the world was concentric circles to the city because it creates a harmonious frequency. The squaring off of the streets and making them into blocks and squares is military regimentation for control measures and to be able to easily seal off quadrants or quarters of the country or the land or the city. So they wanted everything military regimented to expedite the work and to put more pressure on the workers to be more productive. And this is when they gave rise to what's known in history as the origin of slave labor. And this is why the first slave story on record is called Lulu Amalu in the Sumerian tablets. It's the story of the slaves that was created by the Anunnaki out of the already existing hominids of the earth, which was the humans, which was the Twa in the sign, right? They were too little to carry the heavy workload. So when Enki decided to marry into him, you get tribes like the Dinka, and these different women produce different tribes in Africa, but it was different over here. Over here, all tribes had sent delegations and brides to the main tribe, the first family of Tahuti over here. He was the crown prince for when the Anunnaki's operations is done on Earth, then he would be the one to restore the matriarchy and have the first right of rulership over the planet on the patriarchal side, but under the matriarchal order, where the matriarchs do they love thing on Earth, where they change the frequency of the planet. with the A tone. The A tone being the frequency in music that is aligned to the illuminated heart chakra that comes when the mitochondria is raised. And if the man ain't don't develop himself, this is why the old ladies be telling them young dudes don't be caking up under them girls, because if she raises his mitochondria, causes kundalini to rise too early, it could cause his death, literally. So they want the boy to develop so that when that energy rise, he'll see as a leader and he won't fall apart because he's developed to take it. Some people take longer to develop than other people. And that's why you got different ages by which the men become chief according to different tribes, right? And it's the same, like a bride can be promised as early as 8, but she still can't participate in marital responsibilities until she's old enough to understand everything. Under the matriarchy is based on maturity, not on age level. And it's a group of women who determines which female is mature enough to date. Today we see it as passe in the Sweet 16 of the Americas, in the quinceañera in the Spanish culture, is the coming out for she's old enough to get married now. The suitors may suit, right? But all of these things is different under the legislative jurisdiction of the corporate. There's no adjustment for maturity level. There's no adjustment for classification of ranking in tribes according to who should marry who. You marry who you want to marry. We didn't do that back in the day. You marry people with certain character traits. That's why your family had to meet. You can't just bring somebody home and say we married. Before you get married, he got to be vetted by the family. He got to go out in the barn to the drinking party with the uncles for drink champs. Then he got to go out to the tent off in the woods for the smoke session with the uncles, right? So he could be chiefing with the chief to find out what he made of. Then they come back and tell that girl, you don't want to marry him, he ain't right. If she marry him, then she on her own, right? Because they done already gave her fair warning that he's a piece of trash. And if you marry him, you're going to be marrying trash. He going to treat you like trash because all he know how to do is be a trash monger and a trash bin.
Hey man, that's it right there. We'll get out of here at 2 hours on this class. We want to thank the brother Rob for coming out, man. We're gonna come out with another one. We got bangers coming out, man, every day, man. We non-stop action over here. Hey, I think we'll take one more question, then we'll leave it out on that because somebody asked about the draft. I'm hearing a lot of things about they signing people up for this draft and this and that. What's your take on that, bro?
I just did a video on my last live I did on Facebook because they wouldn't let me do one on Instagram. But this is my thing. If you go in there and if you get drafted and you go down there and you tell them they imposters on the land, you from the land and you need them to leave, they're not putting you in the army. Period. You're not fit for service.
Pretty much same thing Muhammad Ali did.
No, his was conscientious objector. He didn't agree with the war. You're not disagreeing with the war. You disagreeing with the people calling you the war. You're not my government. You're not from the land operating with the consent of the people of the land. You the enemy. Why am I gonna sign up and fight with the enemy? That don't make sense to me. As soon as you tell them that, they can't put you in the army. Because they know they're the enemy. We didn't say they was, and they said they was our enemy. Elder, I wish you could post some receipts. I'd send them to you.
Hey, send me that Facebook one, man. That Facebook live you just did. Send me that one in through the text. I need that.
Okay.
Hell yeah, I need that.
Yeah, I was going in. That mug got about 3,000-4,000 views on Facebook.
Yeah, I need to make some receipts from that, man. We need to go ahead and get that out because people asking about that.
Yeah, I got you. I'm sending to you.
Hey y'all, we gonna be back, y'all. We gonna keep you updated on the land. You know, we your hood anchor mans. We keeping you updated. keeping it live, keeping it lit. We clearing all the chief names on the land. Let you know this was a conjure operation. They been after us. They not like us. They look like us, but they ain't like us. And it's that wop, 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 wop. You know what I'm saying? It's that wop, 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 right? That's that belt. That's that belt. That's Kendrick Lamar pulled out the belt of God, the belt of the universe. That's that wop, 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 man.
Did you
Drake
see
got it
the
up. He
did
tearing
you
Drake up, boy. He wop,
did you
wop. Hmm?
did you see the dragon wrapped around the Empire State Building? The balloon?
Say that again.
Did you see the balloon of the dragon wrapped around the Empire State Building?
Oh, check that out.
Look, it's facing down, right?
Uh-huh.
Remember, I don't know. I think I told you last time we was on here. There was the Gemini knock. They put Drake between the pillar and the post as the dragon, the Draco.
Wow.
So they got the dragon facing down. He's falling off the Empire.
Wow. I gotta check that out.
Right, I'm gonna send it to you. I'm gonna send you another receipt. So at this end right here, I want you to clip this part when I say that they said that we was their enemy. We didn't say that we was theirs. I'm gonna send you the receipt and clip this end part right here we talking now, and then post the receipt
I
with
got
it
you.
while I'm talking over it.
Got you. I got you. It's that wop, 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 wop. That's that belt, boy. That's Big Mama belt. That wop. Kendrick Lamar whooped the hell out of it. Wop, wop, wop. He boy. It's like a little kid. They got him by. He got Drake by his arm like this, and then he whooping him with that belt. Wop, 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 wop. Come here, boy. Come here. We told you was gonna lose now, Dragon. We told
And
you to
you
drag
know,
back
and
now.
you know, OV is hood lingo for it's over.
Yeah. Right? Yeah, that's right. That's right. Oh, man, they know, man. Drake picked the wrong side of the day. He came at the wrong guy, man. He woke up a sleeping giant when he went to go messing with Kendrick Lamar. Now you got to study this guy, man, Kendrick Lamar, and watch how he move. He like a return. He an old soul, man. I'm telling you.
That was always the plan, though.
Yeah,
The Kendrick Lamar and Drake beef was playing when Kanye did the concert with him to squash the beef. That's how long it been playing.
That's interesting. Hey, y'all.
We'll get more into that next time.
We will. Hey, y'all, hit that like, hit that subscribe button. Like I said, we the hottest in the game right now. I mean, who else is doing it? Who else bringing you topics like we doing it? We got the hottest shows in the game. So we got 1,500 people here. Everybody show Ross some love on the donation. Send them $1, man. Send them $1. It'll put them in the game for the take care of probably for the rest of the month. Then we'll come back. We got some more coming though. Yeah, everybody hit that like button, man, so we can get the algorithm up too. Cause you know how they doing us. They trying to stop us, man. They trying to hold these niggas trying to hold me back. These niggas won't hold me back. These niggas won't hold me back. You heard Rick Ross? These niggas won't hold me back. They trying to hold us back, but we gonna prevail. Cause the dragon lost. Revelations 12:7. We beat the dragon, nigga. Michael and his angels. So yeah. On that note, Wadu.
Wadu.